Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here this morning. Yes. Yes. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Paul Christina, Chairman of the Board of Directors for the North Texas Mobility Corporation, and hereby call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. on August 17th, 2023. First item on the agenda is introductions. And looking around the room, we do have one guest with us. Sir, if you would like, we can get you a microphone. If you'd like to introduce yourself to the board.
Well, perhaps I don't need a microphone. My name is Arthur Gaudet. I'm a scheduling consultant. I live in Carrollton, so I'm most certainly interested in what you've been doing.
Great. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. This agenda item provides an opportunity for citizens to address the board of directors on any agenda item or other matter related to NTMC. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to address any item. Anyone wishing to speak shall be courteous and cordial. Speakers making personal, impertinent, profane, and slanderous remarks may be removed from the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, clapping, and similar demonstrations will not be permitted. Citizens not able to connect to the Zoom meeting must email his or her public comment to kmorris-perkins@dcta.net no later than 12 noon on Wednesday, August 16th, 2023 to ensure the comment will be distributed to board members prior to the meeting. The board of directors are not permitted to take any action on any subject raised by a speaker during citizen comments. However, the board of directors may have the item placed on a future agenda for action, refer the item to the NTMC officers for further study or action, briefly state existing NTMC policy, or provide a brief statement of factual information in response to the inquiry. Do we have any public comment this morning? Yes, thank you very much. With no public comment, we will move on to the consent agenda. There's one item on the consent agenda. Consider approval of the regular meeting minutes dated June 15th, 2023 and July 20th, 2023.
I'll make the movement.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'll make the movement.
All right. Motion by Vice Chair Bushy. Second by Ms. McGrath. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next to the informational reports, there are none this week or this month. Next item is the regular agenda. Item 1, monthly financial statements, FY23 comparison to prior years of 2021 and 22. That information is found in your packet, and Ms. Evans Jones, our treasurer, will walk us through what's there.
Good morning. I anticipate my presentation to be brief unless there are questions that I can help the group with. Largely, you have before you the financial statements that are presented in a similar format as in prior meetings. We have a total expenses of $4.19 million through June 30th, 2023. Largely, the lion's share of that coming from our salary, wages, and benefits. As we talked about in past meetings, especially in our previous meeting discussing the 2024 NTMC budget, this entity is the primary holder of the employment related cost of delivering the bus service and the operation service that we have within the Denton County Transportation Authority. So salary, wages, benefits, total expenditures through 9/30 of $3.95 million compared to a year-to-date budget of $4.7 million. So the big picture of what's happening here is our expenditures are roughly about 60% of that anticipated annual budget total of about $7 million right now. Through 75% of the year, we're about 60% spent. So what that's telling me is that we do anticipate coming in less than budget, less than the $6.99 million budget, largely due to vacancies, as well as the 2023 budget anticipated some temporary staffing that we ended up not utilizing, et cetera. So with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Are you happy with Are you happy with the way things are going then? I would guess you probably are.
I would much rather a situation that is the expenses, the actual expenses are less than the budget than the other way around. So I'll take this one. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Second item on the agenda is the general manager's monthly report. Mr. Deshay, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay. So our discussion topics for today concerning July 2023 results. I'm going to discuss our safety results, our FTA reportable and preventable accidents. I'm also going to discuss our fixed route and demand response ridership, our overtime update, our demand response on-time performance by city, our Connect and UNT on-time performance. And some really good news in that area, by the way. Our customer feedback results, manpower update and recruiting, maintenance refurbishment update, and our last but not least, our employee spotlight. So our FTA reportable, we had 4 FTA reportables in July. 1 was an accident and 3 involved injuries, 1 to an employee, 2 to riders. 1 was a ADA rider and 1 was a person who was running for the bus and ran into glass at one of the bus shelters. So this kind of an aberration. You typically don't see somebody run into glass at a bus shelter. The ADA incident was a $91 damage, which we're taking care of. In response to that, though, all our ADA operators are going through refresher training before the next bid, just to make sure everybody's clear on that. And also all the people who are bidding into access will be fully aware of our protocols and procedures. So far in August, we haven't had any reportables and no incidents. So again, not a good month, but we're still for the fiscal year favorable to plan.
What was the issue with talk about what exactly happened with the ADA passenger and what caused the incident?
Yes, so the ADA passenger is the operator was a regular operator, regular passenger. Typically, he doesn't like to be strapped in. In this case, though, she should have still asked the question. Didn't strap him in. When she made a turn, he fell out of his seat. So, and she was very remorseful about it. And we're just re-emphasizing with all our ADA operators, it's not an option unless they have a doctor's excuse not to use the strap. They must be strapped in. Any other questions on that?
Now, just to say that obviously we had a pretty good year going, several months of no incidents. So this is feels like an anomaly, but it's something to pay attention to.
I want to be great every month. So when I saw that number, and we had 2 kind of early in the month, and and the accident was an operator didn't have an accident, picking up an ADA passenger, got distracted in conversation, made a turn, hit a pole. Stuff that typically doesn't happen.
On the one that, what if she'd been told to put her belt on and didn't do it? What is the operator's, what option does the operator have? I'll put it that way.
Will we advise them that it's for their own safety? We want to have them strapped in. I'm not aware of a situation where someone's actually refused to be strapped in.
Okay.
So, but some people don't like it, but if you explain, hey, it's in the interest of your own safety, typically they comply. And I've seen that at other locations as well.
Okay.
So let's look at our preventable events. In the month of July, we did have 2 preventable accidents. That leaves us about 1.67 preventable accidents per 100,000 miles for the fiscal year. Still favorable to plan. So far in August this month, we're at 0. So, but of course, next week, the big challenge, school year starts full service. So again, we're going through refreshers with those operators as well, just the safety reminders, take your time, be safe, pay attention, scan the roadways. So still pretty good, 1.67 favorable to plan. Anybody have any questions?
Well, I have one.
Yes, sir.
In Highland Village, we've had a scooter issue, some scooter issues.
Okay,
And then they're in the process of trying to arrange for the scooters only going on sidewalks. So that all of us won't have to worry as much about them. So I thought I'd tell you, Highland Village is trying to take care of that little problem, which I know is an issue for you guys, for us, as well as it is for individuals.
Mhm.
And Highland Village is trying to do something to make sure that that doesn't happen. And they're going through the process, which, as you well know, with cities, sometimes it takes a long time of figuring out exactly how to enforce it and what the penalties will be.
thank you, Mr. Bushy, and I appreciate that comment, but we're doing refreshers with all our operators. We expect the unexpected.
Right,
I mean, it's the part of being a professional out there, so.
right, I
but
understand.
Yes,
But
sir.
I'd like to tell you that I'm just trying to let you know that Highland Village is trying to figure out how to deal with these crazy scooters anyway.
Okay,
And so helmets are going to be required and sidewalks only. You can't go on the street and so on and so forth, what are going to be required. And the reason I'm bringing it up is if you see something like that or one of your riders does, please let Highland Village know that you're seeing it. And if there's any kind of a description or anything else, because they're really very interested in making sure this is not an issue.
thank you, sir. I'll be sure to communicate to our team when I get back. Thank you. So let's look at our fixed route ridership. As you can see, since the beginning of the fiscal year, it's been consistently positive. In July, that trend continued at 24% growth on fixed route ridership. So again, that's very impressive. And again, we're still maintaining solid safety numbers, on-time performance numbers, even as we increase our ridership. Access ridership, third consecutive month of solid growth. And this is going to be more impressive when you see the later on-time performance results as well, when you're adding customers, but yet we're still maintaining very high operational integrity as well. Overtime trend analysis. I changed it up a little bit this year, used bars on it so you kind of get a better visual of what our overtime is like. As you can see, for the month that we finished in July at 8.38. A lot of that was overtime that we used for refreshers. Also, the maintenance department is doing a lot of work in refurbishing the buses, getting them polished and cleaned up for the fall bid. And also, we have a lot of supervisors who are being cross-trained to be dispatchers as well. So we expect that trend to probably be in the same range in August. The run bid has a built-in overtime of about 4.88%. So it's going to be, we estimate probably between 8 and 10% in August as well. Does anybody have any questions on that? So let's look at our demand response performance. So from the first 6 months of the fiscal year, from October to March, as you can see, you look at our cities, Denton, Frisco, Highland Village, and Louisville, we were 91.58, but we only had one city over 95% on-time performance, and that was Denton. Frisco at 94.8, 94.13 in Highland Village, and not very good in Louisville. We were at 78.59. That's the first 6 months of the fiscal year. So let's look at our improvement in performance. So from April and July, Denton, Frisco, and Highland Village, all over 97% on-time performance. Louisville is still not 90%, but a measurable improvement, over 7% improvement at 86.33, 95% for those months. And now let's look at July. By itself, as you can see, we're continuing to climb. Louisville almost at 90. We went from 88.1 to 89.5 in July. We're going to continue to push till we get Louisville, just like the other locations, all over 97%. We're spending a lot of time with those operators, as well as the customer service team, about making sure they're providing enough time between the pickups. So much improved, still not where we want to be. We want 95% across the board. Now let's look at our on-time performance at UNT. As you can see, January 81.63. We finally crashed the barrier, 90.88 in July, which is a very impressive performance. And that's across the board. Every route is running very smoothly right now. Our connect performance, same thing. As you can see, January is 79.02. Now we're at 88.88 in July. The two combined puts us at 90.02 for the month, which is where we want to be. But of course, we want to sustain that once the school year begins. And as of right now, we're in the same range right now. So the key is sustain it, communicate, make sure the operators stay patient, don't run early, which is really the big thing to on-time performance. Take your time.
So I want to pause here and just acknowledge that something happened in March with all these numbers. You know, in March, all the numbers start going in the right direction. What was your start date, Mr. DeShane?
March 6th.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got that. We got that covered. Let the record show. All right. Great work.
Thank you, sir.
We're not done, but we've made a lot of progress.
I really think in the state of Texas, Fort Worth, they're 92% in that range. I think we could be the best in the state. That's our goal.
There you go.
And I've communicated that to our team as well. So let's look at our customer feedback. So you see we had 4, puts us 11.97 complaints per 100,000. That looks bad, but it's actually an aberration as well. Only one of those complaints involved an operator. We had one that was due to a bus shelter that we don't even service anymore, but we got a complaint. We took care of that. We also had a complaint about call response with somebody trying to cancel a trip. We usually don't get, that's the first complaint I've seen like that. And then the other complaint was due to, it was also an ADA response as well, but it was more to do with a phone call rather than actual conduct. We only had one complaint related to conduct. We talked to the operator. It doesn't have any history of complaints in the past, so we think it could just been a misunderstanding. The customer was running for the bus and thought that the operator saw her. He says, I didn't see her. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt this time because he doesn't have any previous complaints on his record at all. So far this month, we're looking really good. So again, I think that's gonna be an aberration. We're still very favorable to plan on our complaints per 100,000 riders for the fiscal year.
What is the goal for?
7.5. Yes, ma'am. 7.5.
That's not.
Oh.
You're going backwards.
Oh. Well, for the month, it was not a good month, but overall for the all 10 months, we're favorable to plan. You see, we had a bad month as well in March, but we steadily declined. But again, we had that. Again, I really believe it's an aberration because it didn't involve any conduct complaints. So, but I usually monitor that very well too, because again, our service delivery, on-time performance, they go hand in hand. Now let's look at our recruiting. So right now, in the month of July, we hired 4 operators. 2 are active, 2 are in training. We expect to have one of those 2 in service within 2 weeks. The other one will probably be 3 weeks. We did have 1 term. No movement in mechanic. So there's our totals right here. 4 hired in a month, 2 in training, 2 graduates, and 1 term. Our pre-screen process, we've really ramped it up. As you can see, 34 in May, 61 June, 77 in July. We're already above that in August. We're really emphasizing, hey, we need to go ahead and try to fill these last remaining positions. We have one mechanic position we need to fill, and we have 8 more operators we need to fill as well. And that's pointed out here on our staffing chart here, as you can see. Again, we have 8 openings, bus operator. We actually hired somebody yesterday, CDL operator. So hopefully 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have that operator ready to go. He just joined us, actually has previous experience in North Carolina, Raleigh-Durham. He and his family just moved here. So I think he'll be a really good addition to the team. And we have 2 events, September 19th and October 3rd, for hiring events as well. One at UNT and one at Texas Western Women's as well. And then we have 4 websites that we're using trying to attract operators as well. So I'm very optimistic we'll get the mechanic position filled shortly. In fact, we have an interview tomorrow. Would probably be a level 2 mechanic. It's a real need for us, but we're going to continue to be very aggressive trying to fill those operator positions.
Well, and I've had this conversation with Mr. Bell, and you and I have talked about this a little bit. I would like to see the balance of what should we anticipate productivity to be amongst our operators versus how many hours of service do we have on the road, and what's the right balance of their availability versus overtime, because I'm not convinced that the number is 62. And so I'm no problem with continuing making progress towards that goal, but I'd like to have a conversation around the balance of how those all fit together before staffing up, because as you've seen, we're delivering service, continuously improving over time.
Yes.
We have to have a healthy extra board. I get it. The school year is going to be a big test with what's school starting next week, but it's just going to be something for us to watch. I think continue to do what you're doing with recruiting and all that sort of stuff. But is 8 the right number? Is 5 the right number? That's like a conversation I think to have.
Well, and schooling's already started in some places that we serve.
We're talking about the University of North Texas starting.
Oh, okay,
our
UNT.
shuttle service.
Okay.
You have the 4 people out on leave. We expect 2 of those back this month as well.
Yeah.
So with the 2 grads plus those coming back in, we'll really assess
Yeah.
what our needs are going to be. By then, school will be in session as well. So I think we'll be able to capture what our real needs are.
Yeah, and especially as we think about a CBA and a new agreement that's going to be focused on performance outcomes and availability of the drivers that we have on the rolls is going to matter a whole lot. So
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for that.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Way out in left field someplace, okay? Highland Village has one issue, traffic. And that one issue, I mean, yes, there are other ones, but traffic is an issue, especially now. Is there anything in your background or anything in your past experience that would give us something we could go to the city and the school about how we might be able to help them help the traffic problem? Now, let me tell you what the problem is.
Okay.
The problem is the school district used to rent their school buses. But they said, oh, gee whiz, let's just buy them. So now they have all these monster buses that are running around with 5 or 6 kids in them. And the parents are essentially all using cars to bring their kids to school. So it causes a traffic nightmare every single school day. Can you think through any way we can essentially offer an alternative to the school district, or some way we can help them through trying to get fewer cars on the road by essentially offering some way for them to be able to transport kids to school? I don't need an answer today, needless to say. But if you can think about it, and there's a way we can somehow take it to the school district, it might be something that's good for us, but it's also going to make a tremendous difference as far as the schools in Highland Village is concerned. Now, this may not be a problem in the other 2 cities, I don't know. But in Highland Village, the problem is we have all the moms wanting to take their kids to school. We don't have a university there, needless to say.
Mhm.
And as a result, it makes rush hour a nightmare for everybody when school starts.
Well, I'm certainly willing to consider it. In my previous stops, we have had city bus service, public transit that service the school district as well, St. Louis, and then, of course, in
Right.
Dallas.
Well, I know, and this was, I still not, the people that fix their things used to be the people that owned all the buses. But in all their absolute incredible, reasonable, unreasonable decisions, they said, okay, well, we'll just buy all these buses, but you can still work on them. So now they have this monster group of buses that run around with 5 or 6 kids max usually. And they're going through all the neighborhoods to pick up kids, but nobody wants to ride the bus. They want mom to take, or moms want to take them to school. That's the issue. I don't know whether we have a solution to that issue, but if we could think through one, it would certainly make traffic relief for us.
Let's not try to get too far off the
Yeah,
agenda.
that would fall under, what is the service offerings that DCTA is bringing and all that, and that's a conversation that we can have perhaps as we think about our long-range service plan.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm just saying, let's start thinking about that because it's not getting any better.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you for that.
So we're doing something a little different as well to try to, as a recruiting incentive. We already have a $750 incentive for operators. We've just added another incentive, as you can see, for this process. Right now, we only need a mechanic, but let's just say you did have a recommendation, mechanic is hired. We're going to have between August 6th, which we just had our last staff meeting, and October 31st, we're going to have a raffle of some free items for those who recommend an employee who joins our agency. So electronic items that people really like a lot. The Insignia TV, Fire TV Stick, Echo Dot, and the Echo Show as well. So first week in November, we're going to have a raffle of the names if anybody gets recommended, and then we'll match it up with a prize as well. So we're hoping that's going to really continue to generate a lot of enthusiasm among our staff to help fill our positions. So I talked about earlier about we were using overtime to help refurbish our fleet, to prepare for the summer UNT school year. On all of our older buses, our 600 series buses, 700, 1100 series buses, our maintenance team polished all those buses. On the exterior, it gives you an example of 703, and then you can see how it looks today. So that's all the 600 series buses, 1100 series buses as well. They're also in the process of cleaning the interiors as well. Polish the interior, old signage coming out, new signage going in. We'll have all that done before Monday, for sure. The cleaning has already been done. The signage has been taken out. We're just in the process now of putting in the new signage on the buses. And as you can see with our non-revenue vehicles, the same thing, refurbishing those as well. We have 5 of them. So it's a process of the interiors have been taken care of, hubcaps, tires, everything. So as gives you an example of what our non-revenue vehicles that our road supervisors use in their daily duties.
Is that something that you plan annually, or how often is that your goal to?
Yes, we want our vehicles to reflect our service commitment to our customers. So to me, if you don't have a clean vehicle that's on time, that's really telling your customer that you're not placing the highest value on what they're on continuing to use us.
To add to that, in the past, there hasn't been a strong focus from a maintenance perspective. Past practice is to leave the non-revenue vehicles alone. And so that's one of the intentions that we have, to try and preserve the vehicles we have and not be in a position that we have to purchase newer ones. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of them for the long haul.
there's a pride in ownership, a pride in operation, a pride in the organization thing happening here. It's not just about the vehicle looking good, it's about the people who ride in the vehicle feeling good, the customers who get on the vehicles feeling good, and like Mr. Bell said, it just hasn't been done in a really long time. So to get all that oxidation off and get things shiny and clean, we have, for the age of our fleet, it's in very good condition. This exercise really helped to make the outside match the quality of the condition on the inside.
Well, yeah, just to be clear, I like that practice, and I just didn't know if it was annual, if you're trying to do it twice a year, kind of, I know it's time consuming. But I do think it makes a world of difference to morale for a lot of it, but also for the customers that ride in the vehicles. And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
always, the outdated marketing material too is always something that's kind of a problem trying to get it done. So I like the focus. I just didn't know how often it occurs.
Be regular. And our operators loved it as well because the bus looks better, obviously, so they take more pride in their performance. And the maintenance team really embraced this project once we got going. Once we showed them how to buff the buses, at first they were a little hesitant, but as they got into the project, they really just volunteered to do whatever was necessary to take care of it. And in fact, our employee of the spotlight is related to that. So our employee spotlight in July, Michael Ellis. He's a member of our maintenance team. He's been here 17 years. And he, I think, really led the effort because most of our other maintenance crew members are 1 year in the 1 year range. So relatively inexperienced crew, but he just led the effort. He personally buffed about almost 2/3 of the buses. He also led the effort to show them how to clean the interior just right, placing the signage. And he just has a tremendous willingness to help out. He's always volunteering for assignments as well. So he really lives the values that we're trying to promote. He's a servant leader among the maintenance team as well. So there's nobody else, I think, who we could have recognized this month than Michael Ellis. Congratulations to our staff spotlight.
Yeah, thank you for that. And on behalf of DCTA also would say thank you to Mr. Ellis for all of his hard work. You can see it on the road, so we appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the last item on our regular agenda. We appreciate that update, Mr. Deshay, and commend you for the work that you're doing to get us moving in the right direction. The next item on this agenda says future agenda items and board member requests. Any board member could request an informational or action item to be placed on a future meeting agenda. So I'll entertain any of those ideas at this time.
Well, one of them is, I'd like you to see if you could go ahead and try to figure out how we can handle. Or if you've got some suggestions, you all can talk about how can we help Highland Village handle their issue associated with transportation. And you may have some things that we can, all it takes is some suggestions. And what it does for us and also for us is it gives us a way to show them we are trying to do everything we can to help them be better or have better service, shall we say, for the city. And so it's more than anything else. Hey, have you thought about, or can you think about, or does it make sense to have, or that sort of thing? And we'll take it to the city council. I'm sorry. I'm suggesting then we take it to the city council and say, look, we want to help you essentially be able to get more for your buck, so to speak. And that might get us away from this new council member that is giving us, well, let's just say the new council member needs some education. I'll put it that way.
Okay. I'll take that. Note. Any others? Okay. The next item on the agenda is just talking about the next regular board meeting date, and I'll spend just a minute talking about this. We've been on a monthly rhythm for the last several months because bringing Mr. Deshay on board, getting the budget approved, all that sort of thing. And it feels like there's an opportunity to maybe go on an every other month cadence to receive these operational updates, because I really don't expect this board to have action to take again until we get back into the budget season, or rather when we get closer to the CBA agreement, which is March 31st, this board will have some input and insight into that. So with regard to a September meeting, the only reason in my mind to meet for a specific work item would be the feedback for Mr. Deshay on performance management that we'll talk about today in executive session. By the way the process works is we talk about this in executive session, and then I have a one-on-one conversation with the board's feedback between then and the next board meeting. So I could propose that we do our executive session today. Mr. Deshay and I have a debrief on his annual review, and then we could have a board meeting again in October. At which point, if we need to have the board talk to Mr. Deshay, we could do that. And then we would go into our combined November, December board meeting. Or if the board says, no, we want to do a board meeting in September, the format will look a lot like it did today, except we would have the executive session where the whole board gives Mr. Deshay feedback 30 days from now. So if you all are okay with it, what I would propose is we schedule an October board meeting. We do an executive session. I do a debrief with Mr. Shea on his annual review, and then this board meetings again in October. Do you all have any preferences, and Mr. Deshay, you have an opportunity to speak up here too, if y'all are, what your preferences would be.
My preference would be to do that. I don't think we need to meet every month just to meet. So that's never efficient.
Got it.
No, I totally agree. However, like I say, I think I can think of one exception, and that is if we go through what we just recently went through concerning folks not understanding what's going on as far as rail is concerned, that we somehow either have a meeting that addresses rail alone so that all of us can make sure that our councils understand what the heck is going on.
Mhm.
Because right now, as you well know, I think our councils do not, our council, especially maybe one or two members on some councils, don't have a freaking clue.
Well, I would say we can, that's really the DCTA board, and I did a briefing to the council in June that went well. But this body will not have to take up the railroad and all that sort of stuff, and we will be having the conversation with the councils through the DCTA.
That's
channel,
fine.
so.
As long as that's happening, because
Yeah.
there's no reason for them to be concerned. And I think they have to understand that there's no reason for them to be concerned.
Understood. Okay. Well, then, Mr. Deshay, do you have any challenges with that plan of you and I can debrief on your annual review, and then with this board would meet again in October? Is that okay with you?
I'm comfortable either way, sir.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, then let's make that plan that we'll go to the next regularly scheduled meeting as the one in October that is already on the calendar, if I'm not mistaken. October 19th.
Third Thursday in October.
I do have a question whenever meet October 19th. Is there a way that we can get these presentations as part of a packet like before, kind of like we do for DCTA?
It's possible. Yes, we have been on a different time schedule on the production of these packets relative than we do on the DCTA side. That's a conversation that Mr. Bell and Mr. Deshay and I can take up to make that happen. I'm not opposed to that. It's just a matter of getting our cadence established so that we're delivering earlier than we have been, so.
Okay.
And the packet, what we propose there is really, the packet doesn't change, but you get the slides before the board meeting.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about that. And we're reporting, if I'm not mistaken, this is reporting in July.
I think a lot of that was in June.
The last
Financial was in June, I believe.
Yeah, the financials are in June, these are in July. What it might trigger is because of the time that it takes to get the data off the buses and processed, we may end up in a place where we can only report like this month. If we'd have gotten this packet out in advance, it would have been June, would have been the latest month, because it takes time to get the stuff processed. And so that might be a challenge.
Okay, well, I don't like old data, so I would prefer to have updated data, but I mean, even if you did it like the day before, I mean, I'm not saying I need a week to look at it. It would just
Okay.
be nice to have
Okay.
a little bit of time to look at it. I like data. I like to look at it, and when
Okay.
I only see it here for like, a minute as we're going through it, it doesn't really give you a lot of time
Yeah.
to kind of digest it.
Understood. Yeah, we're managing the lag, because like the DCTA board packet for next week's meeting will get published today, and it contains the July data that was produced about the same time as this one did. So let us figure out what's possible in terms of when the data comes off the buses, processed and all that sort of stuff. And if the expectation is not a week in advance, but 3 days in advance or something, that gives us more flexibility.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll make October 19th then the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Okay. The next item on the agenda is convening executive session. The board may convene the regular board meeting into closed executive session for the following. The Board of Directors will convene into closed executive session pursuant to section 551.074 personnel matters of the Texas Government Code to discuss the duties and evaluation of the North Texas Mobility Corporation General Manager. So at this time, I propose that we would leave the room only with members of the NTMC board, Mr. Corpita. And then if the board would be okay with it, I would propose that we also allow Mr. Bell to remain as the president of NTMC, who has good insights into the topic to be discussed.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because I thought in lieu of that, if he had some sort of evaluation he had already done, that would have been helpful, so.
Well,
I think it
I've
would
got
be important.
something there, so.
Okay.
All right, well then let's do that. We'll break and go into executive session.
think I did. I did.
Okay, we have ended the executive session and no actions were taken as a result. So with that, we've reached the end of our agenda for today's meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.